In this episode, I sit down with Natasha Wheeler and Andrew Goldsmith, the founders of Tonic Studios, about the value of screen-printed apparel. If you're like me, you want the best price for everything. You can call it being frugal or you can call it cheap. I really don't mind either way, but I always make sure that I get the best deal on things. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that I want the cheapest price all the time. There's plenty of times where I knowingly pay more for something that I've seen somewhere else for much cheaper. But the reason that I do that is all about value. If spending more money leads me to a greater return on my investment, I don't need to think twice. When I tell people how much money I spend on my accountant every year, there's people out there that say, wow, that seems like a lot. But the fact is that he's saved me thousands of dollars on avoiding fees. So for me, it's an amazing value and I don't need to think twice. Well, anyway, people like Andrew and Natasha, they have a super focus on not just making t-shirts, but understanding their customers and delivering as much value as possible. They'll be the first ones out there to tell you that there are cheaper options out there. But if you want value for your money, they're the ones that you're going to want to call. So let's go to Columbus College of Art and Design, where I meet with Natasha and Andrew. All right, so to get started, can you give me an intro on each of you, and maybe you can then tell me how you help people create business?
I'm Natasha Wheeler, creative captain at Tonic Studios, where we are a screen print and design studio focusing in apparel.
Andrew Goldsmith. I don't know what my title is there, and I think as a business owner, that's what most people come into, right? Like, it's just, you do what you have to do, and maybe it changes day to day, and that's it.
I have that same problem all the time where every time I log into LinkedIn, I'm looking at my title and I'm like, it's not really my title.
Yeah, titles are bullshit.
They are. And I always change mine, probably once every few months, and I'm like, this is it, this is the one.
Man, I love when people contact us and they're like, oh, I'm the CEO of my company, and you're like, dude, come on, there's only one employee. You're accounting and your HR and your procurement and ordering. I mean, you're everything, right? So I don't know. Yeah. I don't have a big ego.
Anytime people ask me, they're like, what do you do exactly? I'm like, today I was mostly an accountant.
That's the one thing that we learned to outsource as fast as possible, man. I sucked at it. We had great numbers when I was double booking everything for 2 years, and I'm like,
really
man,
helps.
We're freaking killing it. And it's because everything was wrong. So hire an accountant. Hire an accountant. Unless you went to school for accounting.
Yeah,
it's
for
worth
sure.
it.
All right, so now how do you help, or did you already answer that? How do you help people? How do you help people create business?
Good question. So since we basically screen print t-shirts, it's the majority of what we do, we help a lot of businesses establish kind of an identity for their business. So if it's a restaurant, that could be the shirts their employees wear. If it's a brewery, it's obviously the shirts that they sell and employees wear. So I think it just helps to establish a story more for those companies or brands.
Yeah, that's well said. So I think establishing an identity or establishing a product, and I think that those are probably the two biggest factors that we run into, or two biggest deciphering factors between what we do. I mean, if you think about everybody having t-shirts, right? That's the one thing that we all have in common, and it's not high fashion, but everybody has them, and whether you're buying it to put your logo on it or you're buying it to put your art on it and sell it, it's the same thing in a sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So kind of elaborating from there, can you talk a little bit about the people that you work with and kind of why they choose to work with you?
We work with a majority of small businesses, ranging in, just that designer who's trying to maybe push a few t-shirts to sell under their own brand that they're setting up to, you know, larger restaurants and retailers who have multiple locations, who are fortunately growing, so we get to grow with them.
Big corporations. We have a couple big corporate clients. Charitable organizations, right? That's actually where we got a big, like, our start was working with nonprofits, because that was our background at the time. You know, we're not really exclusive for the most part, right? Like, we're willing to help anybody, but it's typically on the terms of, like, we want to bring people in and we want to sit down and talk to them. We want to meet them face to face. I mean, we typically work on referral only at this point, which probably sounds pretty crazy, but we're really lucky to be in a position where we've seen really strong growth year over year, and we don't market ourselves at all. And sometimes we have people who just cold email us, and we tell them kind of that it's referral only, and you know, they aren't really receptive to that. But it's just to make sure that the quality of client that we bring in is on par with what we already have.
That's great.
Which, I mean, I think we're super lucky. I mean, we've fired one client in almost 5 years, so that's, I don't know, seems like a pretty good track record.
Well, and I think we do a good job. We value all of our clients kind of equally, so regardless of what sort of volume they could bring us. Like Andrew said, we like to have everybody come in. We really like to show them the product if we can, or get them samples, get them to touch and feel, really see what they're getting, instead of just, you know, placing an order via email for a blue shirt, not really sure what blue shirt you're going to get or anything like that. So we kind of think of it as a collaboration as much as possible with everyone we work with.
Yeah. So can you go a little bit further into kind of those conversations that you have with people? So, like, you get that email and they're like, hey, I'm interested in getting some shirts done. You know, kind of talk about the process from that point on.
So from initial contact, so Sarah is our project manager who normally handles most of it. First thing we want to do, we want to get people in the door just so we can talk to them, right? I think that's really important, to know who you're working with. Sometimes you don't get a really good vibe from people, and I mean it's nothing personal, it's just business. But I think you can tell a lot about somebody when you sit down and have a face-to-face conversation with them. And there's been times where we've had to say, like, you know, I think we can mutually agree that maybe we're not going to be the best fit. But we know people that we can refer them to. I mean, and it isn't that we're going to send a bad client to a friend of ours. It's just that maybe somebody else, you know, if they want a certain style of print that, I mean, we just don't really want to handle. I mean, sometimes it boils down to that, right?
Sometimes people, what they want, really, screen printing isn't the best solution for.
Yeah, that's perfectly said.
Because those cases are rare when, you know, maybe we're not the best fit, but...
somebody wants a photo on a shirt. I mean, you could 4-color process print it, but you could also just take it to a DTG printer and have them actually print a photo on the shirt. And you don't have to worry about... I mean, we had that happen one time where somebody mocked up a photo on a shirt, pre-sold it, they brought it to us, and we matched it the best that we could, and then they were like, whoa, this isn't right. And we're like, well, okay, so before we got started, like, this was kind of the explanation that we gave. So in this case, we need to do something needs to change. So, like, you need to change your mock-ups that it's not a photo, or, you know, like, let us print you a sample, or let us do the mock-ups, right? Like, is that a big mistake that people walk in the door with? They have a mock-up of something that they did for their website, and the print is huge, or the print is tiny, or it's a photo, or it's 50 colors.
Or it's a product that just doesn't exist. Like, I don't know what shirt that is.
I got
this. That for you.
We've got mock-ups, like, Go Media totally hooked us up, which, like, for the record, Go Media is awesome, but, like, sometimes their products are a little outdated, and like, we don't have access to that product, so not here to shit on Go Media.
we try to spend time taking, like, measurements of different products to kind of get an idea when we do mock-ups, to best gauge, you know, how that graphic's gonna look. Will it look this big or that big, and that kind of thing. So hopefully the end result is what the client expects.
So that's sort of how, you know, our relationship started. Was I was looking for shirts. To me, it was a simple question. It was a simple thing where I need shirts, and then it was, okay, well, who knows people that can do that stuff, you know? And then whenever I contacted you guys, it was definitely kind of a surprise, just to kind of come in and have that conversation. Because I think so many people are kind of used to that idea of just ordering something online real quick, like
Well,
it's
that's
Amazon
the
or
last
something.
thing that they should do for
Yeah.
shirts. I mean, not to cut you off, like custom
No.
ink. So everybody's like, oh, I can get this cheaper at custom ink. That's really cool. You're welcome
Yeah.
to get it from custom ink. So you're going to order a product that you don't know what it feels like.
Yeah.
You ultimately, I mean, we know how different colors interact with different diamond or garment dyes. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe you put down one coat of white on a red shirt, and all of a sudden it's pink. But custom ink doesn't care. They're going to send you the shirt because that's what you wanted.
Yeah.
And maybe those are things that people don't think about up front, but we've made every mistake probably that you could make, and we still make mistakes. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can help somebody avoid that, whereas custom ink is they're a transaction, right? Like
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I've never worked with
Maybe
them.
it's the difference of a product to a service.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely really interesting. Like I said, as soon as I walked in and we started talking about different shirts and stuff like that, I was like, oh. And then as for anytime that you buy something online, you get a box and then that's it. With you, it's hey, come pick it up and let's talk,
Yeah.
and let's make sure that everything is good. And I think that's a really good way to be, honestly.
That's the way that, you know what, we don't have a phone. We don't have a phone number on
It's
our
intentional.
website
Yeah.
because we don't want people just calling, first of all, people just call like, what's the cheapest price I can get? And if that's the way that you're going to start any working relationship, it's unfortunately probably the worst way that you could start it. So we don't want to be answering the phone 20 times a day for people who just want to do price checking or whatever the case is. If they're just making a bunch of phone calls in a day, the chances are probably pretty good that we're not even going to be able to get them in the door. But if we can initially make contact with them, or they can make contact with us and we can get them to come in, they're probably pretty serious. I mean, we have unfortunately a lot of tire kickers or people who are just going to waste your time and ask 100 questions, versus if they're willing to come in and sit down and talk to you face to face, the chances of probably closing them, or not closing them, this isn't a sale, like we're not here to sell anybody anything, like we're just here to help them figure out what it is that they want. So we don't even have sales reps. I mean, and I don't know that we ever will, because we're not there to sell anybody anything.
I think that's a really interesting thing. I kind of learned that lesson on my own, where it's there's a ton of times where people want to send an email, they want to get that price as soon as possible, and I understand that, but there's always a lot more that goes into things. So for me, it's okay. We're emailing. My goal is always to be face to face. I mean, obviously it's a little bit different whenever I work with somebody across the country or something like that. But like even then, I'm like, we're gonna do a Skype meeting or something like that. I think that there's something really important about just being face to face with somebody, that it's like you can kind of judge their, I guess, commitment level a little bit more.
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
If they're willing to show up face to face, I mean,
right
right off the bat, I would take them 10 times more serious than anybody who just sent a cold email. And I mean, it is important obviously to get pricing fleshed out like at some point, but I mean, that's just never, I don't know, price is what you pay, but value is what you get. And I think that in almost the 5 years that we've been doing this, like we really do understand that saying more than ever. I mean, it's true. It's very true.
That's good. So what's a common mistake? And we've kind of already talked about a couple of them, but is there any other like just common mistakes that people make whenever sort of just whenever they want a t-shirt?
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably one of the most common ones we see is having the right artwork. And granted, I know not every business necessarily has the budget to hire a designer to make sure they have everything vector or just, good DPI or anything like that. But, I mean, I can't tell you how many times for races or anything where there's a lot of those logos, we get, just a tiny, 50 pixel, logo.
We've received race logos that were made in Microsoft Word and still have the flashing cursor on the screenshot. And that was sent over as a business logo. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. Or a screenshot taken off Google Images. I mean, those are not business logos.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately it comes down to, some small JPEG that we have to blow up to be a 9-inch logo. It's going to be so pixelated. It's going to be so pixelated that we don't want to print a poor product for anyone. So there's a lot of those conversations sometimes that need to be had. We'll take time to fix what we can that's realistic. And then I would say probably people taking time to pick out product. We'll have people
taking too much time,
too
right?
much time. Yeah,
there's
taking
nothing
too much
wrong with
time.
due
You need some
diligence
time.
and actually seeing what you're buying.
Yeah.
But for people who can't make a decision,
if you come to us in September to pick out fleece, and then you actually come to order it at the end of November, it's probably not going to be in stock. And nothing
Yeah.
like makes us feel worse than being like,
Yeah.
we can't get that.
Yeah.
But also, you could have ordered it a couple months
Yeah.
ago.
yeah, that's tough. I
So-
mean, that's just tough, right? You just
Yeah.
want to take care of people,
Yeah.
and we're not pushy, right? So we're never going to tell anybody to buy more than what they need. Actually, in some cases, we tell people to buy less than what they need,
Yeah.
because we can always reprint, right? But you're never going to get that. You're never going to necessarily get your money back on printed product that's not selling, or that's not moving for what reason. So there's nothing wrong with doing your due diligence and picking out what's right, but you need to at some point make a decision, because ultimately it's just t-shirts. It's not life or death. Just let's get some action.
Yeah. Do you think maybe there's a level of kind of indecision paralysis whenever they walk in, where there's just like 1,000 different colors to choose from and all this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we do. Sarah, who handles a lot of that back and forth with clients, she does a good job at asking the right kind of questions to sort of gauge like what product to pull sample wise. So that way we kind of already have a selective pool, because it is very easy to be like, oh, well, does this brand
Yeah.
make it in that color? Can I get that in a different color? So we try to narrow it as best as we can, and we are always keeping in mind inventory to what's actually available from vendors, because again, we don't want anyone to order something that isn't
Yeah.
actually available.
What's another big problem that people have?
Oh, simple. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Anybody who thinks they really want like an 8 color printed shirt probably doesn't want to pay for 8 colors. And that's sometimes a hard discussion to have. But I think keeping things simple, especially when it comes to a garment, is great. Like a heather gray shirt with like a white print always looks sharp. Like it's always gonna look sharp.
Yeah, less is more.
Yeah.
In most cases, you probably don't need 8 color. You probably don't even need 5 colors.
Yeah.
I mean, ironically, one day we had a local pizza place email us and ask if we could do some shirts. It was a 10 color front, 10 color back, and we declined.
10 colors.
Yeah, for like a really small quantity of shirts,
Wow.
which doesn't matter how many it is. Like that's just a lot of work regardless. And then the very same day, we printed for the Columbus Museum of Art, and it was black. It was white on black.
Yeah.
So it just seemed really ironic, right?
Yeah.
Like, here's our pizza logo. It's 10 color. You're printing for the Columbus Museum of Art, and it's white on black. Like, it doesn't have to be super complicated.
I think the most we've ever done for the art museum's 3 colors.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That's interesting.
yeah.
So you kind of started talking about logos a little bit. I think one of the things that I imagine that you have is people kind of walk in and they're like, I want my logo real big on the shirt, like whatever their company is. Maybe they're like a towing company or something like that. And they're like, and I want to like give it to all of like everybody, and everybody's gonna wear it. But I have this doubt in my mind that people actually wear these things outside of their promotional giveaway use. So what do you think makes somebody want to wear a shirt?
I mean, it comes down to 2 things. Like, if they identify with that story or the brand, or if it's just it has to be just a really good piece of product.
Yeah.
We do a lot of event shirts, so that's actually a great example, and it's something that we use all the time. So it's a big event, charitable organization or whomever, and it's cool that they pick out, they go with a basic shirt. There's nothing wrong with that. They get everybody there for the event. They all get their picture taken. There's all that great unity, and then that cheapo junk burlap sack T-shirt just ends up. We hear the same 3 things: I paint in it, I mow the grass in it, or we send it to Goodwill.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. I mean, you can go to any Goodwill and you can look through the racks, and how many Gildan shirts do you see that are just basic junk shirts?
Mm-hmm.
Versus, if you spend maybe an extra 40 cents more, you give people something that they want to wear, and it's really kind of like a better return on investment, which sounds crazy because we're talking t-shirts, right? But I mean, that shirt that you just paid several dollars for that ends up at the back of somebody's closet, or gets paint all over it, nobody's ever going to see it again.
Yeah.
Versus something that, like, if you give them a soft shirt that they want to wear, like, people are going to wear it just because they like the shirt. I mean, they might not even identify with the brand or the design, but give them something that they want to wear and they will wear it. And then, if they can really identify with your cause or your brand or your logo, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've worn shirts that I don't even like, but I like the brand, or I like the logo that goes on it.
Yeah.
It's noon on Wednesday.
Let's give that a moment.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
But since it's December and we are like in the season of fleece for everyone, when we have people come in and they're actually touching different product, just to speak to like the quality, they actually end up going with, and we're very upfront that certain fleece items are just more expensive. That's they have a higher cost, but they tend to choose lean towards that softer item, regardless of that extra cost. It's like once they touch it, their mind's made up.
Yeah, it's quality over quantity, and so many people shop by feel. I mean, I guess I never really realized it until we really started working with so many clients, but as soon as they feel like that high quality fleece versus the junk, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
So it might be a tough question here. What exactly does your work do for people, do for these businesses, and is there any kind of specific results you can kind of talk about?
Yeah, I mean, the majority of, I think, businesses we work with, they're getting shirts for their employees, or they happen to also be selling shirts. So it generates some revenue for them, but it's not like a main source of that. However, we have a good example of a business that shirts surprisingly have become just like a huge source of revenue.
Yeah,
and
hot chicken.
Yeah, hot chicken. It's another way to tell their story and get their brand out there.
And how do they use it?
Hot chicken. I mean, so we don't really. We're kind of weird in that we don't ask people for testimonials, and we don't really need any. Did that just reset?
You're good.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's
Okay.
only for whenever I'm talking.
Okay, so we don't ask people for testimonials. We don't need referral. I mean, if they want to send somebody our way, that's great. We don't ask people to do anything other than let us just take care of them, and that's all it is. Just take care of people, and we're going to be a good place. But with hot chicken, we were talking to Joe, he's like, I can give you guys a referral because t-shirts have become such a big part of our business that. I mean, he was like, it'd be crazy not to. It's a great testimonial for you guys. But, I mean, it's outpaced other parts of their business, and they're a food company, but they're slinging so many T-shirts that, they're basically a T-shirt company to go along with it. So, I mean, if you can get... I think that they're a brand that people can relate to, they can get behind. They've got good branding. They've got a great story. They're like the perfect storm of, people getting behind it. But... You can't, there's nowhere you can go and you don't see one of their shirts. So, I mean, I think for somebody who's not in that situation, what is having a printed shirt do for them so it can solidify them right as a business? So, anytime you start a business, you get your business card and you're like, man, this is it. We're a business now. And it's the same for your shirt, right? It's a business card that you're going to wear, that's always going to be visible. It's not just stuck in your pocket. It's not in your wallet. So, it'll solidify you as a business. I mean,
it makes it real.
Yeah, well said. It makes it real.
Yeah.
And depending on that business, it's always nice to have swag for others. Or
that's
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
T-shirts are the easy giveaway. I mean,
it seems like it might be a confidence thing too. As soon as they kind of have that and kind of have their logo like that.
Somebody told me a long time ago that entrepreneurship is a mindset. So as soon as you start thinking about yourself as a business owner and as an entrepreneur versus somebody when we first started, it was a side hustle, because we hated our day job so much that we had to just get the hell out of there. So for the longest time, it was just, well, this is something that we do on the side. But now it's, at a certain point, there was that transition of this is a side hustle or side gig. And now this is full-time entrepreneurship. We are business owners. We still use that loosely. We're still figuring things out.
Yeah.
So everybody's going to make mistakes, and that just is what it is. But I mean, it's a mindset. So having something with your logo on it, like, it makes it real. It's tangible. You can hold it versus, you know, just thinking, I'm a business owner.
Yeah.
But now you've got something that you got proof, right?
Yeah.
You can still, there are people to ask about it too. Because I know when I wear, I mean, we made Tonic shirts for ourselves because we're a t-shirt printing company. We should have our own shirts. But also we needed stuff that we could get covered in ink at work without ruining our own clothes. Yeah. But when I go out, people will always ask me, like, what is Tonic Studios? Or the few times we go out for lunch as a team even, they're like, oh, wait, what is this? Like, tell me about it. So I imagine that can work for others.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it works for us, why wouldn't it work for other people, right? Like, we're not anything special.
You guys are getting high on your own supply, huh?
You know what? We don't make shirts for ourselves enough. Like, we've done a few print runs. I mean, I think that we're really fortunate that, like, we're busy enough that all of our stuff kind of hits the back burner because we're just busy.
Yeah,
So
I think that's like one of the things for me where I'm like, anytime that I have like a break in between projects, I'm like, all right, I'm going to use what I do for myself, like making short films, doing that kind of thing. And I can only imagine how many times you're like, I want to make a shirt like this, like I'm going to print this, and then, I don't know.
Everyone we know wants, they're like, oh, hey, I got an idea for a shirt. Can you take care of it? And you're like, my brother, literally right now, just the other day, was like, hey, I want a shirt. I'm like, man, I haven't made a shirt for myself in like 6 months, so yeah, I'll help you because you're my brother. But man, like, you're just busy. You're busy.
That's interesting. So one of the things that you kind of mentioned a little bit ago is just kind of so with Hot Chicken Takeover, they sell their shirts and they make revenue from that. What would you say is the percentage split between people that are just giving it away to their employees or people and people that actually are kind of selling the stuff that you make?
That's tough. I don't know.
That is a tough question.
So I think it would vary like between, you know, from printer to printer. Mm-hmm. So I think because we work with so many, gosh, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on the industry that particular business is in. Because even Hot Chicken, obviously some of what they print are for employees. Yeah. And then some of what they print are for retail. Yeah. And we even work with like pet people. They have obviously shirts for their employees, but then they do like a charity shirt that's for retail. So
that's a tough question.
Yeah.
And I think because we work on referral only, like the restaurants that we work with are going to refer other restaurants to us, so they're getting product. Typically it's going to be for employees. Obviously they'll sell some, like Hot Chicken's, you know, the alternative to that, but I think it really depends on the clients that you work with, that split that you're going to see, whether it's, you know, promotional versus product, you know, for sales, for commerce. But I don't know, that's a tough question. I don't really have a good answer for it. Yeah. So maybe we would just say like 50-50. Yeah. Because I don't know, that's tough.
I think 50-50.
So whenever they plan on selling the shirts, as opposed to just kind of giving it away, how, if at all, does that change the conversation that you have?
Yeah, so we will often, it's common that people will do a little bit of both, right? So maybe for their team, they'll have shirts, and then they're going to have some giveaway shirts. I think we did this with a video film company. Yeah. So for themselves, they kind of ordered like the nicer, higher end product for the team, and then they got some shirts that had just a lower cost that were for maybe for their own potential clients or whoever they were giving their shirts away to. So, I mean, there's flexibility to always work and figure out different price points.
I think that's something I think that would speak a lot to the people that you're working with. So we try to carry products that kind of would meet anybody's budget. So there's nothing wrong with basic, there's nothing wrong with middle of the road, there's nothing wrong with, you know, going high end. And I think part of having a good conversation with people, bringing them in to show them the options. I mean, Homage here in town, like we do a ton of printing for Homage. They have great quality product. We have people all the time who are like, hey, I want quality like Homage. I want Homage shirts. And we're like, hey, that's great. Like, we can get you something that's on par, but there's also something that is maybe not quite not quite as good, but it also can save you quite a bit of money. So
yeah, when they see those together too, and they realize like, oh wow, this item actually has just as much, like I don't see a difference.
Yeah.
I'd rather go with the cheaper item.
good versus great, or
Yeah.
like what's the saying is that perfect is the enemy of good enough. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with getting really high-end product, but there's also nothing wrong with getting something that's really good and selling it or giving it away. I mean, there's kind of that middle of the road.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, what are your kind of personal or business goals for any of the jobs that you kind of work on? Is there something is there a place that you're trying to get to, or a certain quality, or anything like that?
Just get through the day.
I think that's a couple good. That's a good question, in a couple different parts. So like our personal goals for our business in general. So I think a lot of people have the mentality that they want to like take over the world with their business, and that's cool. Like that is your right to do that if that's what you want to do. I don't think that we want to be that at all, and I'd rather be a quality over quantity type of business. And I mean, I don't know so we've done some interviews and people are like, what's your end goal? Like, and I don't know, like I've not thought that far in advance. Like maybe that's short-sighted on our part that we've never thought like, are we going to sell this and cash out, or are we going to retire on this? Like, I don't know what our plan is, right?
Yeah.
What's our plan? Our plan is to focus on business right now,
Yeah.
and like we'll see where it takes us. I mean, it'll be 5 years in March, so I don't know. I don't know how we made it this far. Again, like like we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We weren't business owners. We just were two people who got sick and tired of our day jobs.
Yep.
And I have a degree in business that like I don't use ever, and I
Do you
regret
really? I
every
didn't know
day.
that.
Yeah, like I regret it. I regret going to college.
Really?
Because I learned more in the first year that we did this business than I did in business school. So, I mean, I don't know. So, the other part of it, like, what's our goal for the business? I mean, like, we want to take care of the people that we have, and all we want are success stories, right? Like,
Yeah.
we'd love to have every client that walked in our door be a hot chicken success story where, when we first started, they used to drop off boxes of t-shirts on my porch because we used to print out of my house.
Yeah.
And now they're ordering thousands of shirts. I mean, probably in a quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, they're huge. So do I wish we had the ability to make that the success story, or that the story for every client? Absolutely. Doesn't always work that way, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It just is what it is. Like, sometimes it doesn't work out, but
Yeah.
all I care about in business is taking care of the people that we have, and I don't want to go out and get new business if we can't take care of our old business, right? So like, to me, that's the mentality of like the Time Warner. Like, they just want to go out and get new clients, and they don't give a shit about the people that they already have.
Yeah.
And then you just get so angry, you're like, dude, F Time Warner, and you just leave, right?
I just did that the other day, actually.
Yeah, my God,
It's pretty rewarding.
So like, is it Spectrum now? But like, they can change their name, but they don't change the fact that they suck.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, it is what it is. Like, Time Warner's like, everybody's been burned by them.
Yeah.
So that they're like, unfortunately, they're the perfect example of what not to be in business. Hopefully that doesn't get us sued.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there are different, these are kind of boring things that really apply to our industry and what we do, but there's always new equipment that, be like, oh, it'd be cool to have that machine, or have 2 presses going, if you had enough volume for that. Creatively, I'm always interested in new and different inks and print styles.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done
Tough ink, or experimenting with things like that, because if we can perfect that, it's something we can offer to our clients. So we have a wider range of services essentially to offer, and there's some cooler designs we can do and things like that really interest me. And I think growing our team personally is something we both want to do. So we have enough hands on deck to meet our customers' needs and really provide that quality.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
I agree with all that.
So, 2 more questions. My favorite one is, before you can help a business, what must they have already done?
You want to take that?
Well, they need some idea of what they would want printed. So even if they don't have a logo or artwork themselves, an idea of if it's a name or a phrase, we need some sort of loose direction there. What would you say?
I think that's the great, like, have some direction.
Yeah.
We literally got an email last week that said, I started. Wait, what did it say?
Should I start?
Should I start a business? I have ideas for how to start a business, but I don't know that it'll be profitable. I need to know that it would be profitable before I got started. Maybe I could do the design. Maybe not, question mark. And literally that was the email, and you're like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Yeah.
What? So we replied to that like, hey, let us know when you like have got some things more figured out, and we can talk to you.
Yeah.
And so have some direction, right? Like have an idea, even if it's something loose, like try to get something, put your ideas down on paper, right? So like when we first started, we didn't know, we wanted to be a brand. Then we realized that that's really tough to do, and it can be kind of sucky. So then we just moved into being like, that's like, we realized that we were better at printing than we were at branding ourselves and being a brand. So
Marketing, all the things involved with that.
I mean, we've been fortunate enough to be in touch with like some really strong people in business, and like that just wasn't where we were, where our strengths lie. So there's nothing wrong with having an idea, and maybe you have to branch off from that, or I mean, maybe you flip the script completely and you completely change what you're going to be. There's nothing wrong with pivoting at any point in business. So, I mean, that's the best way that people can help themselves. Like, get an idea, get it down on paper, brainstorm it, and just get something going, rather than emailing somebody with some like 50 different thoughts, and you're like, what the
I get that email quite often, actually. Well, maybe a couple times in the last couple of years.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But like, before you go contacting people and sounding like you're a freaking nut job, like ask yourself these questions out loud, and then like start developing some ideas. Do some research. I mean, anybody who wants to become a brand, there are 100 websites that you can go Google to get advice from other people who are doing the exact same thing. I mean, the exact same thing. Yeah. There's a huge retail presence here in town, right? So we were fortunate enough to be in the same room as Brian Vessler from Homage, and like, I didn't know what to say to this guy, and I just walked up and basically just verbal diarrheaed everywhere. But like, it turned into something that like now we're one of their biggest vendors. So just go. There's nothing wrong with asking people for help, but you need to have some very direct questions to give them. So that's, okay, let's talk about Vessler. I had this idea one day, a long time ago, and I was like caffeine fueled, and I'm like, I'm going to tweet him, and I'm going to get all this information, and I like sent him this stupid generic tweet, and he gave me like a very generic answer back, and I'm like, oh, that was pretty stupid for me to ask that. 2 years later, I'm thinking like, well, what questions would I have that would be more impactful, and like, you need to have focused questions for those people. A lot of them are very much willing to sit down and talk to you, but you can't just go there and be like, give me some advice. Because they are probably in a position where they are going to be like taking a drink from a fire hose, right? Like, they can overwhelm you. But if you can ask them very concise questions, you're going to be in a much better position, and they're going to take you more serious, right? Like, give me advice versus, hey, how do I get sales at full price versus discounted, like getting people to convert to a full price purchase rather than just sales. So like stuff like that, you need to have very poignant questions.
Absolutely. That's so one of the things that so I teach right just a couple doors down right here, and one of the questions I get from students a lot is, how do I get a job? And I'm like, you gotta ask a better question than that. Like, what have you done? What have you tried? Like, a better question would be, why is nobody answering my emails? Or like stuff like that. It's like there's always so much deeper you have to go. And that's so this little book that I have right here. Every single day for, I don't know, probably since early spring, I try to end the day with one big question. And then I try to sit down and try to answer the question at some point later on. Like, not that day, just later on. And most of the time I realized that just wasn't a good question. So like, I'll just keep going narrower and narrower on that question until I get to somewhere where I'm like, I don't know. I have to ask somebody now.
That's the way that it should be. That's exactly what people should be doing when they're going to go to, influencers or well-established entrepreneurs here in town. Like, have some direction. Don't just go out asking stupid questions. Because I did that and I regret it.
Yeah.
We've made every mistake that you can, right? There's nothing. I mean, just take our advice. Don't do what we did when we started.
All right. So, last question is, where can people find out more about Tonic?
Yeah. So our website, tonicstudios614.com, or Instagram, which is just Tonic Studios Columbus. we try to post that daily.
Yeah.
Try, or at least anything that we're producing out of the studio that we are proud of.
Yeah.
Kind of put on there. Stories too.
Nice. Anywhere else?
No,
You could
that's
just
probably
show
it.
up,
You could,
right?
You can
can
just show
show
up.
up,
That's
yeah.
fine. We do have people who just walk in the door randomly. A lot of people think that we're the distillery a couple doors down. So that's interesting. They're always disappointed when they see T-shirts sitting out, not barrels of bourbon, but
or
that's
is it
okay.
the restaurant?
Oh yeah,
They
yeah, we're
definitely
a
don't look like a
restaurant.
restaurant. But
Awesome. All right. That's it. All right.
Thanks.
Way to go. We did it.